how can we form a bias using support and resistance level? So we have so many time frames, depending on the type of trader you are. How can we form a bias? So there are two things we need to form a bias, which is number one, I want you to pay attention. I know you've watched the study video. After the study video, I never really had any session pertaining to this again. So pay attention. Pay utmost attention. So the first one is rejection of a level. Rejection of a level, and we have rejection of a level and we have break of a level. Those are the only two things I want you to pay attention to. Now you might be like, oh, but I talked about formation of level. Now formation of level is a low probable setup, it's not a high probable setup. Rejection of level, break of level. These are the two things that formulate your bias. So now, what's rejection of a level? Right? What's rejection of a level? Rejection of a level is basically when price, for instance, we all know what support and resistance levels are now. So we're going to go direct to chart work. We're not doing any graphical illustration type of sheet. All right, so what's rejection of a level? Okay, we can see that this is an open close level. So we need tools to formulate our bias, to know our directional bias, right? But people that trade purely S&R, they call it storyline, right? So you want to know the higher time frame bias, right? So we want to see what rejection of a level. So this is an open close level, all right? So you play price forward. This is what you call the rejection. Now, this candle taps into this open close level and the body does not close below the open close level. So this bullish open close level is a support level, right? So a support level should reject and the candle should close above the support level, all right? So for a support level, how do we confirm a rejection? The candle should close above the support level, not below, right? So let's look for and this is the resistance level now, right? So let's say this is how you can confirm a rejection of a resistance level. So we have multiple rejections there. And then this next candle, you can see this next candle actually closes above this resistance level. So basically, there was no rejection. All right. This is your rejection here. This is not a rejection. So once you have a rejection, for instance, price rejects this support level. So it means that our first rule for knowing if we should look for buys or sells have been confirmed. So this is a rejection of a level. So rejection of a level, rejection of this support level. Now, first. Second rule is break of level. Now, are you going to do it on the same time frame? You can't do it on the same time frame because most times it might print, but most times it might not print. So when price rejects a level on a higher time frame like this, so let's go back here. So we had multiple rejections like this. And now this is a 1 hour time frame. You can go to the 15 minutes. So you um using S&R, you need basically only two time frames. You don't need too many time frames. You need just two time frames. All right. You need two time frames. The other, if you go as far as using three time frames, is basically you trying to refine. So we had a rejection. What's the most closest level you can see? Now, when it comes to break of levels, we don't want to see break of open close levels. No. We want to see break of resistance levels or support level. So when price rejects a support level, we want to see a break of resistance level. When price rejects a resistance level, we want to see a break of support level, not an open close. No, we're not interested in that. So we want to see this 15 minutes, we want to see this level break. Once this level is broken, right? Once this level breaks, we are fine. Right? Once this level is broken, then we are fine. We can capitalize on the trade. You can see price broke this level, and immediately when price broke the level, what did it do? Came back down, retested it, and then pushed higher. So there's something they call flip zones, which it's somehow you somehow can put it with S and R. Now you can see price actually tags into this level here and rejects this resistance level. I hope you can see. I just explained what rejection is. So you can see price rejecting that resistance level, All right. So it basically means that sellers got in at this point. But now, right, this level is going to be retested because we had a little bit of rejection, but the next candle actually closes above it, taking it out. So now we can look for our buys from this point now, the 15 minute. So as our two rules for forming a bias been met, yes. The first one is what? Rejection of level. The second one is what? Break of level. Now, I know you've heard about rejection of level, formation of level. You've heard me talk about that. But that is basically when you want to use continuations, right? Now we're trying to form a bias, right? Your bias is very important. So most of the time when you are wrong on a setup, wrong on a trade, not like you are wrong, but the problem is you are not following the market, the current market bias or the trend. You're just trying to do your own thing. So now if you took your bias from there and you targeted these highs, right? Following rejection of 1 hour level, rejection of 1 hour support level, break of 15-minute resistance level. This would have been your setup. So now, no matter what you say, this setup is going to hold because now there is a break of a level. Cassia price tags into it, and even after tagging into this resistance level that is now support, it still rejects it, giving you much more confidence that it's going to hold. Reject it properly, and I think it came back down here. Yes, came back down to this. So came back down to this. So if we look at this, this is a resistance level that is now support. All right. And price does not close below it. So whatever is support, price should not close below. Whatever is resistance, price should not, the candle should not close above. The candle, not price, actually. So play price for something like this happens, don't panic. Because I'm sure most of you panic and be like, oh, this. No. Your bias has been formed. There's no need to panic. So smash TP. So this is how you take on trades. This is how you take on your trades. Now, for those of you that are swing traders and all that, which but is also very important. It's also very important you pay attention to what the weekly is telling you. It's also very important you pay attention to what the daily is telling you. All right. Unless you're just an intraday trader, you come, you look at this, you're out. Okay, so you might ask, for a situation like this, where the market closes below but ends up still buying. Now, things like this can happen. Things like this obviously can happen, especially when the market has started um, its expansion move like this. Things like this obviously can happen, right? Are you going to win everything? No, you're obviously not going to win everything, right? But nevertheless, when it happens, it happens. Now, let's use a clear instance to know if would have taken on or even realize that a sell is going to happen or stuff like that. Now, let's use this first. Let's explain these cells first. These cells that happen for how many weeks? So what happens when we have this? So the rules for forming a bias is not that hard. So you can see here, we had the resistance level from here. You can see price actually rejects the resistance level. Now the question is on the daily. Let's even go back to this point. This is actually a very nice thing to look out for. So weekly reject weekly resistance. What's the rejection? Price does not close above. But now, when you look at this rejection, let's zoom in. Because you need to zoom in very well to look at it if you actually rejected. Now, it actually did. Now, this is one of the reasons why you like using the magnet tool. Because now, during this trend line, it's on the closing price of this resistance level direct. So even if it is 1 pp, it does not close above, but healthy rejections would drop lower than this, right? Now, weekly reject weekly resistance. We want to see our break on the daily. That is how we confirm our bias. So weekly has rejected weekly, and since weekly has rejected weekly, we want to see this daily resistance break. That's the only way we can confirm the weekly is bearish. If it doesn't happen, then the weekly is not bearish. So let's play price forward and see if we actually take out. You can see we don't take it out. If because you just had a rejection. Now, this is why I always talk about having just rejections don't matter. Having just rejections and formation are low probable setup. Now, weekly rejected weekly, but on daily we form the resistance level, right? So obviously you might place If you're a swing trader, say, okay, I want to take my trade from you, and then boom, you're taking out like massively, you're taking out, right? Which doesn't make any sense, right? Formation of a bias is when we have a rejection and break. Rejection and formation of a level does not confirm a bias. It doesn't. So if you also look at this very well, after we can classify that as a rejection, all right, this was a support level, right? So if the next candle, right, after this rejection had closed, the next week's candle, oh, almost out of time, 9 minutes. If the next weekly candle had closed below this weekly support, then we can still confirm, right? We can still confirm. But you can see the next week actually do what? What does the next week actually does? Comes back down, doesn't close. Focus for me, you can't see that as a close. You can see the next week actually rejects this weekly support. So since the next week rejects this weekly support, we can go back to the daily. And going back to the daily, weekly rejects weekly. We want to see a break on the daily. So where is the resistance level? This is a resistance level. You want to see a break. So now when something like this happens, weekly rejects weekly, daily resistance level is broken. What we can basically start looking out for is buys. And we're going to look for buys until we get a rejection from a level on the weekly. I hope I'm making sense. So you're going to wait and see if you get a rejection on the weekly, right? On the weekly. So now, without even pushing too far, we have our bias, right? Our bias has been formed. So you can start looking for trades, buy trades on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. So you read them 4 hour rejects um open close level. So even if you want to see any resistance level break, I can see resistance level here. So we have this bullish and bearish candle. This is a resistance level. Price breaks this 1 hour resistance level. We can look for buys. Let's see. Very important. The break is very important. So we've broken this resistance level. So we are still very much what? Bullish. We are still very much what? Bullish. So play price for whatever resistance level you see here is none of our business. So you can see price comes back down to this, rejects it. Let's see if it holds. Obviously, it should hold because we are bullish. So you can see. I hope you can see. I hope you guys can see. So for most of you now, it might be like, oh, this is a sweep of liquidity, this is a break, this is inducement. And then what happens? Price actually gives you like 1:3, and then boom, you're out of the trade. It's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. So if you want, this is a situation where you would use um, rejection like this if you want to, like you want to be extra careful, because if you listen to everything I've said, and please go back and watch this particular video, right? Go back and watch this particular video. So if we start from the what we just did, weekly rejected weekly support, right? Correct. Weekly rejected weekly support. Daily broke um daily broke a daily resistance level, right? It broke a daily resistance level. And then that has given us what our bias. So we want to see weekly reject weekly and want to see a break of level of, so if weekly reject weekly support, we want to see a break of daily resistance. So once weekly rejects weekly support and there's a break of daily resistance, we will look for more buys. So from the 4 hour, we can start looking for what open bullish open close levels, which are support levels being rejected. I want to see a break on 1 hour, and we take our trades from here. So if you want to be like extremely like cautious and all of that, so this is where we had a break of this resistance, right? To find our continuations. Price actually rejects this resistance level, forms a new support level, and then forms an open close level. So this is what I always tell you. That price will obviously come back to the open close instead of that. But for me personally, since our bias is from the weekly basically now we've confirmed our weekly or even our weekly and our daily. They are bullish. So stop loss right below this low, target that high. We start targeting high, start targeting resistance levels, and we're bullish. So we should start in this scenario, we should start looking for what all-time highs should be created. So I always tell you, price is always going to come back to this instead of this. So you take this up to this point. So being extra careful sometimes is good, but sometimes at the end of the day, you miss out on the trade. If you play price actually would have dug deeper. So I thought nobody was going to be like, this low is going to be, now you don't know which low price is going to take out and all of that. So we have this and we have this. So there's a high chance price can come to any of it. I know most of you will be like, oh, it was 1 is to 8, now it's 1 is to 3. Don't like focus on being on the trade and making money from it actually. So you see, you can see that it actually comes back down almost close to 1 is to 3, 1 is to 3, that's 1 is to 6, almost 1 is to 7. And I've been out on the trade. Very, very, very soon. Now, how do we confirm that, okay, we could look for sell-offs in a situation like this, right? Until the weekly print some sort of resistance level and reject that resistance level, I don't think there's any need to be quote unquote interested in sales. So you can see the next week actually pushes higher. After pushes higher, closes like this. See? Next week closes bullish, next week closes bullish. So we have this, right? So we obviously know that price is going to come back on because we've taken this out. We obviously know price is going to come back down here. Let me quickly make an explanation before we push further. So we have a resistance level formed now on the weekly. So we are going to hold that trade until a resistance level is being formed and price rejects that resistance level. So we can map this out. So if weekly reject weekly resistance level, now we're going to look for buy continuations from here. Obviously not. We're going to look for buy continuations from this point, right? Because of all of that doesn't mean you're going to neglect premium and discount price. No, don't fucking do that. If you play price, next candle tags into it, rejects it to what we want to see, actually rejects it very well. So what we want to, let me play price one more time. So it rejects and closes this way, which is not bad, which is not that bad, not that bad, forms a support level, all right? But that's not our business. Weekly has rejected weekly. Then we want to go to the daily. So since we want to go to the daily, we want to find a support level, all right? So this is a support level, bearish, bullish candle. We want to see this support level broken, okay? So you play price, let's see. So our support level is being broken. Now, upon our support level being broken, now, are we going to start framing our buyers for sales now? No. I'm not going to frame our buyers for sales. Why? Because our level here, right, which is our support level, our weekly support level has been tagged on the daily, right? It has been tagged on the daily. Now, one thing I want you to understand when it comes to mitigation and price respecting a level is if he wants to give you sales, right, it's not just going to make all this move without coming back down. You can see these buyers actually, right? Buyers actually on the one hand give us re-entries, and then we could hold. You can see that's what it's going to do. But now you can see this one, it just sold off, came back down here. So since our bias is from weekly, so weekly rejects weekly, right? Let's see if it closes like that. So weekly reject weekly properly. We'll go back to the daily again. We're not interested in anything that has to do with the weekly open close level. No, we're not interested in any of that because if we wanted to see it happen, right, we should have not rejected this point, it would have broken through to this point, but we're not interested in any of that P. So looking for trades from here and here is really none of your business. All right. So weekly rejected, weekly formed this new level. Now it's in situations like this because we know that we are bullish. All right, we're bullish because our bias has like realigned, right? We are bullish. So a newly formed level like this could be respected or not, right? Weekly rejected, weekly, daily, we expect this high to be taken out, right? Which is going to take a lot of time. But we go to the 4 hour. Now, what I'm trying to let you know is using this bias, using this, what I'm showing you now, is going to make trading easier for you because now trading S and R, trading with everything I've taught you, you need basically just 2 time frames. Highest you can go is 3, right? You need only 2 time frames. 1 time frame for rejection, 1 time frame for break, 1 time frame for rejection, 1 time for break. That is it. 1 time for rejection, 1 time for break, 1 time for rejection, 1 time for break. Not one time frame for rejection, and that time frame for formation. Scrap that. Formation is going to fuck you up because it's a low probability setup. It's not going to hold every time. So we play price forward. We actually tank, but that's really none of our business because we go to the weekly time frame. Now, this is how you can confirm so many things too. Weekly rejected weekly, right? But on the daily open new level form, but there was no break of level. I hope you can see buyers.